Hi, I'm Pastor Andre, pastor of the Corner Church. Thank you so much for taking a moment of your day to watch this message. I hope you truly get to hear God speak to your heart and that He refreshes your soul. Please do enjoy.
But here we are, once again, to our grand opening. We've been looking forward to this for a very long time. So my wife and I, we moved here to Moncks Corner January of last year. And so here is a picture of our beautiful little family. And so my wife, Erin, was the woman who was singing right here at the keys. And doesn't she have just an amazing voice? I love listening to her sing. She's amazing. And so unfortunately, she never sings for me at home. I ask her like all the time. Mason gets to hear her sing all the time, but I do not. But that's Mason in that picture, our little chubby 11-month-old son. I just love him. He's like this little Michelin tire baby. He's so cute. I love getting to kiss him when he's sleeping, and his cheeks are all like pushed every direction. I love Mason so much. It's amazing being a dad. I mean, I knew that I would love it, but I didn't know that I would love it this much. And so that's our little family in a nutshell. And we moved here just over a year ago, last January, to plant this church. And it's incredible that here we are at our very first official worship service. So just know that kind of within today, this is a historical moment, because you're now getting to say from this day on that you were there for the very first service that the Corner Church ever had in Moncks Corner. Isn't that pretty amazing? So give a round of applause for yourself, because that is a historical thing. So in 10, 15, 20 years, you're able to say, hey, listen, I was there. I was there for that very first service. And so, like I said earlier, I really encourage you to get some pictures at the photo booth so we're able to hold on to those embarrassing photos, maybe use them for blackmail in the future, I don't know. But yeah, I really encourage you to take advantage of that. And so my wife and I, we have been together for 4 years, we've been married years, and we love doing different things to dates and whatnot, but one of my favorite moments that we've ever had, one of my just kind of things I love to laugh about, one of the very first dates that we ever went on was over 8 years ago. We were still in high school at the time. I was 15 and Erin was 16, and I was about to head into my sophomore year of high school, and Erin was about to be a senior. And we decided that, hey, we had gone to see the movie kind of this one weekend over the summer, and we just started talking kind of through some mutual friends. And so we wanted to go see a movie again. And this movie, you might have heard of it. It was pretty popular at that time, but Twilight had just come out. And so like every girl at that time, Erin just had to go see that movie. And so any other girls, do you remember years ago, do you remember being in that season? I know all of us kind of regret that a little bit, so it's okay now that that's all passed. But yeah, so Erin just had to go see this movie Twilight. And so I remember we were looking up show times, and we're kind of making arrangements for this. It was maybe a Friday or Saturday night, and go see this movie. And I could care less about the movie, right? This Edward versus Jacob thing, I don't care. Jacob obviously is a better choice, but who cares about all that? We won't get into the debate behind all those things, but I didn't really care for any of that. But I was really looking forward to. You see, we hadn't become official yet. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, which is a big deal when you're in high school and you're 15 and 16. It's a big deal. Those titles, those labels are a big deal. They mean the world. And so we hadn't become official yet. And so I remember we kind of making plans for this, and I was kind of scrolling through show times, and I saw how long the movie was. It was 2 hours and 2 minutes long. It was 122 minutes. I was like, oh my goodness, that's a long movie. And I got so excited for the date, not because of the movie, but because that is some incredible, amazing hand-holding time right there. All right, I mean, I couldn't wait. I knew I was, sophomore dating a senior. Like, who cares about the movie, right? I'm just ready for that incredible moment of us first holding hands and just like that amazing joining. I couldn't wait for it. And so I was clearly dating up, or I had no idea why she had interest in me. I mean, she grew up in kind of a small town, so she probably just ran out of options. But that's why she agreed to go on a date with me. But here we are, and we're going to this movie, and all I could think about the entire time was us getting to hold hands. Oh, I just couldn't wait, just laying out there, and just as incredible. Oh yes, amazing. But so we're heading to the movies, and I have this preference. I love getting to the theater at least 30 minutes early. I'm one of those people. I love getting there early. Anybody else there with me? I love getting there early, get my popcorn, get my drink, get my soda. I love just getting the entire thing being empty, the whole theater being empty, so I can pick any seat I want. Right? I don't want to have the terrible seats at the front. I want the best seats in the entire place. And so get there crazy early. I also love getting there early to kind of sit down, relax, kind of begin to unwind, get to kind of prepare yourself to watch a movie. And so you get to watch a little bit of the previews going on and people kind of filtering in, and maybe you know somebody, so say, hey, what's up? But you also get to talk during that time. And so for me, like, I hate talking during a movie. Even like sitting at home, if we're watching TV or watching a movie, I hate talking. It drives me crazy. And so actually the very week before, we went and saw a movie, and Aaron talked the entire time. It was a terrible date. I hated it. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, thank you for your life story. Let's watch the movie. Oh, let me tell you about this. Oh my goodness, let's watch the movie. But so here we are. We got there super early. Plenty of time to talk. Before the movie, no talking during the movie. They kind of, create that barrier. And so here we are. And I had planned this ahead of time. All right, the perfect moment for me to reach over and grab Aaron's hand is kind of a few minutes in, right? Not at the very start. I don't want to look desperate and embarrass myself, right? Like, the movie starts, oh, hey, give me your hand. Like, no. I kind of want to go casual, like, just kind of, chill, like, kind of reach in and grab her hand. It's very easy. So kind of wait for a few minutes in. And I don't want to wait to the very end, right? We want to make the most of that 122 minutes. And so maybe 120 minutes, like the minimum, right, of how, 2 minutes is the most I would ever give up. And so I kind of wait a little bit into the movie. And so I planned this perfect moment. And so that's all I'm thinking about. We're sitting there, we're talking. I'm eating some popcorn. Aaron's eating some popcorn too. And I love movie theater popcorn, and so I'm eating it. And we're sitting there, we're talking. I remember Aaron is sitting to my right, and I'm on her left. And we're just having a wonderful time. And then all of a sudden, the lights kind of begin to dim. When they showed like the movie trailers before the movie, kind of those previews. And so the lights kind of dim down a little bit. And I'm like, oh, we're getting closer. Oh my word, we're getting closer. And I'm still, Aaron had stopped eating popcorn, and I was eating the popcorn still, and my hands started sweating, like really bad. Like the popcorn started to get like soggy from my hands. Wasn't because of the butter or anything. It was because of my hands. It was terrible. I know, it was gross. That's like just too much information. But I was eating the popcorn. I kind of set it to the side, and I'm like, okay, here in a few minutes, I'm going to be reaching over and grabbing Aaron's hand. I have to be ready for this. Right, I was playing high school sports. Normally I'd do a warm-up, stuff like that for this. I need to make sure my hands are in pristine condition. So I'm like casually trying to wipe off the grease and sweat onto my pants as I'm sitting there. And as I'm doing that, I'm getting ready. I'm like, oh, we're almost here. The movie's about to start. And I'm just, we're seconds away from me getting to reach over and hold Aaron's hand. And all of a sudden, she kind of has this weird demeanor about herself. You see, we were sitting there having a great time. And Aaron is a very small person, and she, those seats are very small, but she kind of begins to scoot herself all the way to the other side of the seat, which is only like a few inches, but she kind of wiggles herself all the way to the other side. I'm like, okay. She kind of like crosses her legs, and then she crosses her arms. I'm like, okay, something's going on. Like, did I say something? Did I do something wrong? Like, what's going on? I don't want to ruin this date. Come on, I don't want to give that up, please. And that's all I wanted. And I had no idea what was going on. So thinking, okay, maybe her drink's empty. I need to be a gentleman and go refill it. I'm like, Aaron, was you going to get you a refill? Is your drink empty? And she's like, no, I'm fine. Kind of snappy a little bit. I'm like, okay, you're good. Okay, all right. And then I was like, hey, that's not it. Maybe, the movie theater is filled with people, right? Every seat's taken, and the movie's about to start. So maybe she has to go to the bathroom, right? She's just a little embarrassed. Right, I get that, okay? She doesn't want to get up and miss anything because she'd been looking forward to that movie. So, okay, maybe she's got to use the bathroom, right? And so it's kind of, no one's talking in the entire theater. It's quiet. The movie's beginning to play, and I just kind of lean over. I'm like, Aaron, is everything okay? Like, do you need anything? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I kind of sit there, and then just moments after that, she takes her arms and she throws them firmly to her sides, and she puts her foot down and she looks at me, and with way too loud of a voice, she's like, are you going to hold my hand or what? I was like, yes, please. Yes, actually, yes, please. I would love to hold your hand. Yes, and it's just beautiful. But we both wanted the same thing. I was just kind of being, I guess she was kind of the desperate one in that moment, and that's okay. I honestly could not stop, that's all I could think about the entire ride over, okay? That's why I wasn't very good at conversation, because I was only thinking about holding hands with you for the very first time. But we both wanted the exact same thing. Isn't that crazy? If we just would have talked about, well, I guess you can't really ask somebody like, hey, hypothetically speaking, if I wanted to hold your hand, could I? Those are terrible questions. But yeah, we both just wanted to hold each other's hand. It's hilarious how, it's hard sometimes in relationships to communicate what we want. And sometimes we try to communicate what we want by kind of telling people what we don't want. So a typical scenario, if we're trying to go out to eat for dinner, I'll say, hey, Aaron, where do you want to go to eat? Oh, I don't care, wherever you want. Have you ever seen this play out? Yeah. Okay, you know where I'm going? Yeah. Oh, I don't care. You pick, Andre. Okay, I love some pizza. You want to go to Pizza Hut? Nah, I don't want pizza. Okay, how about some Chick-fil-A? Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. How about some Chick-fil-A? Nah, I don't want Chick-fil-A. I'm like, okay, so you do care about where we go. Okay, you don't want me to pick. And so she's always like trying to, I'm trying to figure out where she wants to go eat by what she doesn't. And so we always find ourselves all throughout life in moments where we're trying to figure out what we want and what other people want. And it's hard to communicate those types of things. And this morning, I kind of want to talk about that together. I want us to talk about, kind of our desires, things that we're looking for, things that we want, things that we don't want. Because I think kind of just beneath the skin, just beneath the surface, a lot of us are looking for the same thing. I think a lot of us kind of taking a step back or getting a bigger picture. A lot of us are looking for the same things in life. I remember I spoke at a middle school a few years ago, and I asked every student there, I was like, just out of curiosity, if all you want in life is to be happy, raise your hand. And there's hundreds of people, every single one raised their hand. And so I think in life, a lot of us want similar, almost the exact same things, and we're looking for those things. We try to find them in relationships often. We try to find just that perfect man or that perfect girl who just kind of fills that gap within us. We've tried to kind of secure those desires within kind of our jobs or within school or different friend groups or different hobbies like sports or different things. And we kind of search in a lot of different places to kind of bring about that meaning, that joy, that satisfaction that for a moment gets kind of taken care of, but eventually kind of comes back. Kind of like, if you're starving and you eat a cheeseburger, you then later or a Chick-fil-A sandwich, you kind of start to get hungry and crave that again. And so in a similar way, when we're kind of going on this journey of life, and we have these desires, we have things that we want, there's things that we're looking for, and we don't necessarily know how to talk about them. We don't know necessarily how to describe or say what they are. But we're chasing after lots of things that we believe are the right things. And honestly, maybe for a moment, you kind of bring an ease to those desires, the things that we want. But ultimately, they keep coming back. They keep coming back. And we have all these questions about God. We have these questions about life. We have questions about the world. We have all these questions, and we want answers, and we're looking for all this to get taken care of. And so we go to a lot of different places. And the sad reality is for a lot of us is that you probably have gone to church before, which is more than likely not your very first time going to church. If it is, I'm so excited that you're here. But more than likely, it's not. And the sad truth is that you've probably been hurt by church. You went to those places asking questions or wanting to grow, and things didn't kind of turn out how you had hoped. You felt rejected or judged. You felt looked down on, that people were better than you, and all these different things. Whatever happened, you kind of felt pushed away, and you kind of crossed church off your list and said, all right, listen, if God loves people, and these people who claim to know God are not very loving, then I don't see how the two really connect. And so you kind of crossed it off your list and want nothing to do with it. See, this morning I want us to talk about just really what God is inviting us to. You see, there's this man named Nathaniel, and his story is in John chapter 1. And if you have a Bible near you, or if you brought one with you, if you have a Bible app on your phone, I really encourage you to open this up. John chapter 1. John is in the New Testament portion of your Bible. And so I kind of think about breaking kind of the Bible up into thirds. The first 2/3 are the Old Testament, and that last third portion is the New Testament. So if you kind of grab it, you kind of pinch those pages and flip right to it. See, I flipped right to Matthew. It goes Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then John. And John chapter 1, there's this incredible moment where this guy named Nathaniel, he has questions. He's looking for something more. He's not content with the way life is, and he's looking for something more. And he finds himself in a very awkward, uncomfortable moment with Jesus. And his life has changed. Powerful stuff. So John chapter 1, verses 43, we're going to read this story, and we're going to talk about it together. It's also going to be on the screen for you to read as well. So starting in verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." Wow. Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus said, "You believe. You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that. Very truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." Wow, what an incredible moment that Nathanael has with Jesus. Here Nathanael is just kind of sitting underneath the fig tree, and he's been looking. He has these lists of questions that he's been wanting to figure out, to kind of solve these list of things that he's trying to really kind of uncover. And all of a sudden, his friend Philip comes running into the moment, running into the scene, kind of probably disturbing him a little bit. And Philip says, listen, I found the guy that we've been looking for." What? Nathanael's just kind of thrown off, like, what? And Philip's like, no, I found him. I found the one that we've been looking for. The one that Moses talked about 1,500 years ago. The moment that God spoke to Moses, thousands of years ago. That very one who would come into the world and he would heal people's hearts. That he would change people's lives. The very one that God would send into the world to kind of kick in the door on darkness and beat it. And also offer us something beautiful. The one that they've been looking for. The one that God had kind of been promising would eventually come. That people had no idea who he would look like or, kind of where when exactly he'd come out to be, but they just knew that he was coming. The one that would fill in the gap. The one that would kind of start to heal the cracks within people's hearts. The one who God was promising that he'd be the one who would redeem you. He'd be the one who would give you a new identity. He'd be the one who would pick you up out of the mess that you've kind of gotten yourself maybe even accidentally into, and he'd dust you off and he'd lead you into something beautiful and brand new. He's finally here. Philip comes rushing into Nathanael and says, "Listen, he's here. He's right here." And Philip even gives him these incredible two extra comments. Do you notice that? He says, "Listen, this is Jesus from Nazareth, and he's the son of Joseph." What's actually really amazing about just the fact that Philip mentions that is that did you know that there are over 300 predictions of who Jesus would be? There are over 300 foretellings of exactly where Jesus would be born and what family he'd be a part of, and all these other things about Jesus' life were told hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years before Jesus ever lived. And so it's pretty amazing that Jesus is here in this moment, and Philip says, "Hey, listen, he's done these two things." And just for you to kind of wrap your mind all around this, somebody kind of figured out the chances, the odds of any random person kind of actually fulfilling all 300 plus of these checklist items is the same as if you were to try to fill the state of Texas 10 feet deep with pennies. You throw in one nickel, and then you blindfold somebody and say, "Listen, go try to find the nickel." You get one chance. The same odds that person's going to find the nickel are the same odds that any random person could live out these 300 plus predictions of who Jesus would be. And so here he is. And Philip says, "Here's the one we've been looking for. This is it. This is the guy." Nathanael's response, "Nah, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you because I've heard stuff like this before. I've heard that other people have kind of risen up, and other people who've kind of come and said they're the promised one. They're the one that God's been promising the world about. And all these people they fell immorally, and they fell in different ways, and they really weren't the actual people. They're just lying and trying to deceive people. And so I don't believe you. Because people made promises and they weren't true. They didn't live up to those things. So here in this moment, he just says, "Listen, I don't believe that that's actually him." And it called me crazy. I'm kind of guessing at this point. But I believe that Nathanael is really he's really starting to lose trust in God, because he's no longer believing that God is actually going to deliver, or he's really actually going to fulfill his very promise. You see, what's interesting is, I don't know if you caught it, but Philip runs to him, and Nathanael is underneath the fig tree. He's looking for the promises and the goodness and the richness of what God has to offer. not in church, but under a tree. And I'm just guessing that maybe Nathaniel had ran into the bureaucracy and the hypocrisy of religious people, and he said, no, I don't want anything to do with that. And so he started to doubt that maybe God doesn't really care about me. Yeah, he's real, but he has nothing to do with my life. So Philip rushes into the moment and says, listen, God's promise is right here. And Nathaniel doesn't believe it. And so then Nathaniel eventually he agrees to go meet Jesus. I bet the whole time as he's walking over, he's like, watch this, just be a joke. This isn't real. I bet the whole time as he's walking over, this is not going to pay out. This is not real. And he's walking up to Jesus, and Jesus says, look, here's a guy. Finally, here's a guy who's not pretending. Wouldn't that be cool to just be called that type of person? Be a person of so much integrity and honesty that say, hey, look, here's John. Look at him. Man, a person that's never looking to take advantage of others. Someone who's not looking to deceive other people. Wow, what an amazing description that Jesus gives in Nathaniel in that moment. I just think it's incredible. So Nathaniel walks and he meets Jesus, and he's like, how do you know me? How do you even know me? You don't know that about me. How do you know me? And he says, actually, I do know you. I saw you while you were sitting under the fig tree before Philip even came and got you. Jesus even says there in that moment, he's like, I know you. I bet he's even having some dialogue with Nathaniel saying, listen, I know who you are. I know every bit of your story. I know every bit of your past. I know all the things that are behind you. I know every bit of all the desires of your heart. I know what you're looking for in life. And all of a sudden, it's like the curtain is kind of drawn open. And Nathaniel sees that, wow, he really is who I was looking for. Nathaniel is on this hunt, this search his entire life, trying to find something more, trying to find this meaning for himself in this huge, big story as there's a small person in such a huge world. And he runs into Jesus and says, listen, you're the one that I've been looking for. And I want us to soak up that truth this morning, that when I say that Jesus is really the one that we're looking for to all these things that are stirring around inside of us, I don't mean that in a cliche way. Because you've heard some cliche things about Jesus. Oh, you need Jesus. You've heard that. Oh, pray for him. He needs Jesus. And so I'm very sorry that if you put yourself out there and you've been hurt in church. Because God did not want that to happen. But I promise you this, that what you did experience was nowhere near the real deal. The list of rules that you saw or the things that you felt, the expectations that were towering over you that you really felt were there, they're not. You see, Jesus imagined something totally different for us when he offers for us. Something that's so much more real to who we are on the inside. He doesn't invite us into living out this religion where we kind of follow this to-do list and we check off these things like, yes, I'm a good person, and yes, I live out these principles in my life, and I adhere to these values, those types of things. No, Jesus is saying, listen, I invite you into a relationship where it's okay if you're not perfect. And it's okay if you don't have everything together. That's okay. Because I do. And Jesus invites us into an incredible thing that he wants us to be living with him. You see, I can't share with you about your history of being in church. It's because I didn't grow up in church. I never went to church as a kid. And I know maybe it sounds crazy. You're like, oh my goodness, you never went to church as a kid. No, I did not grow up in church. I mean, we went maybe like for Christmas every so often with my grandparents, but that was it. I never went to church as a kid. And I remember just through my middle school years, my parents had split up and my family had completely just broken and fallen apart. This anger just found its way into who I was. This jealousy of other people, this frustration, this bitterness, this hurt had taken control of my heart as such a young kid. And for years and years, it controlled me. And for years, I felt so alone, and I felt completely worthless. And I all the time tried to hurt people. I was so mean. And I regret so many things. But I was just looking for an ounce of happiness. And so I thought if I could make other people feel how I felt, then maybe that would help me. But it never did. And so I remember one time in my high school years, my mom told me that we were going out for ice cream. We weren't. I love ice cream. You can trick me into doing anything for ice cream. She said, we're going out for ice cream. Okay, I jump in the car without even asking more questions. And all of a sudden, she pulls up in front of this church and she says, all right, you're going to youth group, get out. And I was like, yeah, you're funny. I'm not getting out of this car. And she was like, if you don't get out of this car, I'm going to get out and I'm going to drag you out. And if you know my mom, she would do it. I ain't lying. My mom was ruthless. She would do it. I was like, okay, Mom, see you. Have a great time at Starbucks. I'll see you later. Bye, Mom. And I remember I went out and I started to hear these crazy things. These things about how Jesus could exchange the hurt in my heart for love. I started to hear these crazy things about how Jesus could exchange the hopelessness that I was feeling for real and genuine peace and real and genuine purpose. And how he could take away the lies that I wasn't worth anything, and he could pour into so much love into who I was and tell me that I was invaluable. And so I remember when I started my journey of faith, Jesus changed me from somebody who hurt so many people to being someone who loves others. And I ain't perfect. I'm not trying to pick myself or anything like that. But just know that God does not invite us to do this checklist of items. Know that God truly does invite us to live in a relationship that changes who we are. And so I don't know what your story is this morning. I don't know what you walked in here with. I don't know if you walked in with saying, God, do you love me? Do you even know if I'm here? I don't know if you walked in here saying, God, you want nothing to do with me. Maybe you're angry at God. Maybe you walked in here saying, God, I'm not happy with my marriage. I'm not happy with my family. All this mess of my life. I don't know what to do next. I don't know the details of what's happening inside of you right now, but Jesus does. And he's saying, listen, I know what you're looking for. And he's saying, I know what you want. And he's saying, follow me so you can taste the real goodness that I have. See, God loves us. And so here at our new church, our first brand new church that we're starting here in Moncks Corner, we're not about just trying to invite people to come fill these seats and sing some songs, but to really be a genuine community, this genuine family, where we link arms together and we chase after Jesus as one, where he impacts us as individuals and he changes us as a community, as a group together. And so I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but I promise you Jesus has exactly what you want. You see, I remember this moment as a kid. We lived out in and we had this swamp behind us, and it was always infested with mosquitoes and bugs and lizards. It was terrible. It was gross. And Mom and Dad always said, hey, listen, never go swimming in the swamp. It's gross. Don't go. It's not a pool. It's not a lake or anything like that. Never go swimming in the swamp. And so I remember this one time, it was hot, and Mom and Dad weren't home. And I was like, all right. And me and my brothers were there all by ourselves. We're like, let's go swimming in the swamp. And so we got all the way down to our boxers because we figured that it would probably ruin our swimsuits. That was probably a good call. So we got all the way down to our boxers. We went and we jumped into the swamp. We started swimming around, and it was awesome. We were having a great time. We just got covered in mud. Like, you couldn't even see us. And it was like the Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, we were just covered in mud. It was amazing. It was so cool. And I remember we got out and we started hosing ourselves down because Mom and Dad would be home soon and we didn't want to get in trouble. And so we were hosing ourselves down, and all of a sudden there's these clumps of mud stuck on over all over our arms that they weren't going away. And so we're like, what are these things? And all of a sudden the clumps start to move a little bit, and it was leeches. They were all over us, and they were in places I cannot say right now. Okay, we were in church. They were everywhere. And we're like, oh my goodness, we were freaking out. And thankfully, Mom shows up and she shows us how to get rid of them and all those things. But, a long time ago when God first created the world, he created humanity, and he said, wow, look at people. Look at Adam and Eve. They're beautiful. They're perfect. The life that I've given them. And the sad reality is that humanity turned their backs on God, chose not to listen, and went and kind of rolled around in the mud. But the amazing thing is that God has not turned his back on us. He's not turned his back on you. And so this morning, I really encourage you grab a hold of what Jesus has to offer. Let him help clean yourself off. Church is not a place for the perfect or the pristine. It's a place for people who got mistakes, people who don't have everything together. Because I, for one, do not have everything together. So this morning, I really want to encourage you. I don't know where you are with God, but ask him to be a part of your life. Would you close your eyes just for a moment? See, I know right now you're sitting there in your seat and you have this stirring inside of you. And you feel like if you just want to start things over with Jesus, it's not hard. If you want God to begin to speak into your life and bring about this freshness, this vibrancy that you haven't felt in a very long time, simply say, Jesus, I want you in my life. I want to do over. Jesus, I want you in my life. If you told God that right now, would you just nod your head a little bit? I'd love to celebrate. Yeah. Amazing. Let me pray for us.
Thank you once again for watching this message. I hope you heard God's voice and that it deeply impacted your soul. I really encourage you to share it with a friend and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you live in the Moncks Corner area, we would love to have you join us on Sundays at 11 a.m. at Berkeley Middle School. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and that you continue to see more of who God is and what he has for you.